Hi there, it's Fran Davidson from psychicandenergywork.com.au, and this is my little recording about May 2026, the month that just was. If you go through to my website, psychicandenergywork.com.au, to the monthly observations page, it's probably called the observations page, you will see at the very top of that a little bit about last month and some of the dynamics that last month could have brought your way. To say that this year, and not just this year, probably the last 12, 18 months, 2 years, for at least some of us has been a very stretching time. And of course, within every stretch there is pain, there can be discomfort, there can be grief, but there can also be the walk, the journey, the trek through to far more aware, far more empowered, far more energizing states or endpoints. And to the degree that that's what you have been experiencing as well, well done for making it here. Well done for enduring. And I hope that now you're starting to get a sense of not only your own strength in a whole new way, but also the potential that everything else that you've experienced over this last little while may have been coming to lead you towards, if that's the way to say it. Obviously, everything is choice. And last month, I suppose, it really highlighted how, for me, how change or fives, because of course we had 4 5s last month. 5 can be a time that feels very wearing, as in wearing you out. It can really push you. And again, I'm not trying to suggest that this was just last month. This year's been an absolute doozy for a few people, at least, from a whole number of angles. Of course, the world is changing on all sorts of levels. And of course, as individuals, we're all being asked to cope with that. And of course, cope with everybody's responses to that as an extra load, as an extra experience, in a way that what was given, what was norm before, is no longer. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but at first it can be a bit of a surprise, a bit of a rude shock. 5 can be a time that is loudest in the sense of, whoa, something's happening that is new or unexpected or illogical even. And therefore, some of our loudest, or some of the loudest sensations that we're aware of, is the fact that we're struggling with that. We haven't got a handle on it. We haven't got a grip on it yet. And quite possibly we never will have a grip on it. Not that that necessarily matters, because life is flow, isn't it? And if we stop gripping flow, it's amazing how well we float. But try remember that when we're in challenging times. The outshot of a 5 period, especially when it's more extreme, and even an 8 period, because again, if you go through to the website, to the bit about last month, you will notice how I write about 8 and 5 when they team up. They're very, very busy vibes, like relative to the rest of the numbers 0 to 9 in the cycle. 5 and 8 are the busiest energetically, and therefore on a mental level. In other words, I've got all these things buzzing through my head, or maybe even a physical level. I have to deal with all these things and life is just out of control. Feel like I'm drowning. How will I cope? Am I coping? Probably not as well as I'd like to, whoever I is. So what's really interesting about this combination of 5 and 8 is the fact that by teaming up and by making things more extreme and less seemingly achievable or manageable, by doing this, life helps us through that process. It nudges us through that, what could be called an obstacle path, in a way that as we get to the other side of it, we suddenly find ourselves in a space where we're able to say, I did it. No matter how well or poorly, I managed. I did it. I got everything done. Whatever those words are. So in that sense, 5 is very much a chapter that helps us get a greater sense of possibility for us. In other words, not only what is possible from a success or manifesting angle, but also possibility from the angle of anything is possible. More importantly, I can do anything. I can do anything. I can achieve anything. And of course, we're all going to peg our limits somewhere on that spectrum, or perhaps not. But 5 is a period that leads us through extremeness, through unknown or unpredictable dynamics in a way that we can't avoid. We've just got to deal with it. We've just got to step it through. We probably get messy on a daily basis for at least a little moment. And yet through this, again, it brings us to a moment where we discover just how much more resilient, capable, adept, perhaps even flexible we are. And of course, having that as a snapshot usually helps self step into its self-knowledge in a way that it never has before, into a level of, I know myself better than I ever have before. Not because what I knew before was offbeat, but more because I only knew myself as a level of capability or resilience or possibility to the level I did. And life's just led me through peaks and troughs in a way that I'm now able, as a self, as an independent and resilient self, to know that, you know what, I can do even more than I was aiming for. I can handle even more, not necessarily because I want to do that again, but goodness me, I'm capable of a lot. So to the degree that May brought that to you, well done, congratulations, you've made it. And just continue to enjoy the realizations that come out of that, because May was also a realizing month, a time when intuition wanted to be louder, guidance wanted to be louder, and therefore self's awareness of what was happening, even if clarity wasn't fully in place yet. So, it goes without saying, this year has been very much a step by step, don't know where you're going, but you see that's 2026, it's a 10-1 year. And a 10-1 year always involves, no matter for whom, it always involves a sense of, I have no idea what's about to happen next. I have no idea what I'm going to end up doing, being, or even the end position. So there's less clarity, there's less certainty. And as we get older, not necessarily 50s, but certainly, yes, as we get to 50s, even in our 30s or 40s, because we've lived for a certain amount of adult years, we can sort of get used to life doing what it usually does and working in the usual way. And of course, these last couple of years, all of that started to be exploded out of the water for us to work out what it is now. So well done on May. Know that this month is very, very much a month of consolidating, and therefore, hopefully, in your world as well, a time of consolidating, integrating, recovering, and allowing yourself the space for that to happen. Nurture yourself, look after yourself, trust yourself, but also take time to choose what you get guided by, what delivers your intuitive messages to you, and make sure it's the highest level possible. Travel well. Feel free to go now to my second video for this month, which talks about this month, June 2026, and its birth numbers. In other words, what this month is going to help us step into, exemplify, and come to channel more of, hopefully on a very, 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 or more spiritual level than we were. Travel well. Thanks for watching.